We'll start the broadcast here just in a moment. Well, hello everyone. My name is Eric Foreman, and I'm with Cott Systems, and it's my privilege to be with you and discuss an important topic of disaster preparedness. I am the Business Solutions Manager at Cott Systems, and I've had the opportunity to work with public officials for 35 years now, and mostly in the areas of land records recording, so they'd be the recorders, register of deeds, and also for court records, clerk of courts, pathonetaries, and those types of offices. So I share my passion with you about public records and keeping them protected, and I appreciate the work that you all do in keeping our records safe for the future. So if you're on this webinar, records, or perhaps working for someone that is, and that's really the core of your job responsibilities, is keep these public records preserved and present them to the public for eternity, really. So with that in mind, let's talk about your records. Now this is going to be not a technical discussion at all, but rather a non-technical one, and one that I hope you'll find helpful. And we're going to be recording this dialogue as well, and perhaps you'll find this something that you can share with commissioners and others that you may need to convince of the importance of protecting records. So first, let's start with the documents, the type of documents that are in your office today. So we're really categorizing these as non-digital records and digital records. So it really starts with really getting a inventory of what you have and understanding where you begin this process. Well, what do I mean by non-digital records? Well, these are things that are in book form. They could be in card form, card indexes. They might be on microfiche, aperture cards, roll film, plat cabinets, with hanging cabinet plats in them. So those are the non-digital records that we're talking about. And what are the digital records? Well, digital records are records created, communicated, and maintained by means of a computer technology. So these records could be born digital using computer technology. An example might be e-recording. So if you're taking in e-recorded documents or e-filing documents, they never existed in your office as hard copy but came to you digitally. You're also creating a digital information in form of your indexes. So you're indexing information that you perform with your documents, or your case docketing that might be done. Those are all digital records. And then digital records may also have been converted from their original form. So when we take hard copy books and we scan them, then we are creating a digital record. Same with microfilm and aperture cards, etc. So everyone has a pie chart, something similar to this. So the question is, where do you break down in your records? What do your records look like? What percentage of them are digital, and what percent are still in a non-digital state? So chances are you're on a computer today and you're probably scanning documents, and so maybe for the last 20 or 30 years you might have all of your documents in a digital form. But prior to that, perhaps not. Perhaps they're still sitting on roller shelves and they're accessed by the public daily as they work their records back in time. Or they may be on microfilm and be pulled out of carriages and put into reader printers and viewed that way. And you may also have a combination of both. So you may have hard copy books and documents that have been scanned as well. So we begin this discussion with really reviewing where we are today. So we talked about disaster preparedness. So what constitutes a disaster for you? Well, certainly acts of God are natural disasters like Hurricane Katrina and Sandy and tornadoes, earthquakes, floods, those types of things that do happen in our country and afflict courthouses, and I've seen them in my tenure with Cott. They do present a problem. So let's look at this situation. I want you to review this short clip.
Reporting from Minder Radio and Leading Edge TV. More footage from Hurricane Irene here in Wilmington, Vermont. This is right outside my house. I am out. Has filled the street. It is surging over the bridge. There's debris floating all over, and it's just coming closer and closer and closer.
Following a developing story this morning, fire crews in Hancock County are still putting out hotspots at the county courthouse. 41 NBC's Skylar Henry joins us live with what happened. And Skylar, do firefighters suspect any foul play?
Amanda, the air crews don't believe that any of this was arson yet. They still say it's too early. I'm actually going to step out of the way real quick so you can get a look at what's going on. Fire crews are still working to put out some of these smoldering hot spots throughout this courthouse. They say that all of this happened around 3 o'clock this morning. That's when they got the call to come out here. And something that the fire chief actually told me that was really beneficial to them. They say that the roof caved in to the building, and that actually helped contain the fire a little bit.
In August 2005, the close to 500,000 residents of New Orleans knew all hell was about to break loose.
I urge all citizens to put their own safety and the safety of their families first by moving to safe ground.
A monster named Hurricane Katrina was tearing across the Gulf of Mexico. The Category 5 hurricane, packing winds of nearly 175 miles per hour, was bearing down on the city and was predicted to make landfall after dark. As expected, Katrina pounded the Louisiana coastline.
Well, those are certain events that we all remember. The first one that was on the clip was the town of Wilmington, Vermont, and I have some personal contact with that situation. I'd like to just tell you a little bit about that story. The pictures you saw, and in that picture there actually was the town hall right by the river that was flooded just a block away. And fortunately the dedicated clerk was able to gather a posse before the storms, the river raised too much, and was able to move most of her inventory of books up in an elevator up to the second floor, and was able to save them those physical books. Now since then she was able to receive a grant, and since then we have worked closely with this particular customer in digitizing all of the records and making them available for 24-hour access. So she really has really gained disaster preparedness for the next one. So where did the books go after all the storm was over? Well, they went right back in the same location, in the same vaults where they were the first time. So they're definitely subject to another type of flooding situation, but she is safe and secure in knowing that those records are safely digitized and in a hosted facility away from her site. That's a tremendous advantage. So what about the physical books? This is another situation, a customer of ours in the Midwest who also experienced a flood of a river several years ago, and this is a picture of all the physical books that have been packed away in a truck and sent out to be frozen so that they could be dried out and tried to preserve them, which they were able to do some of that, but that was quite costly, as you can imagine. So the point is, you know, when we talk about protecting the records, are we really talking about protecting the physical records, or are we talking about protecting the information, the data that is contained in this media, either on books or microfilm? Because the task of maintaining the physical book is a difficult one, especially with fire. So that situation in Georgia, they lost a lot of records, and I haven't been able to keep track of where they are, but I'm sure a lot of those records were lost forever. So recovering non-digital data and information is going to be expensive. So trying to recover from a soaked book and freeze drying them and trying to recover them is in a $1,000 or $2,000 a book. Very, very expensive. Some have microfilm, you might say, you might know, and you might have some too. So we have security microfilm that a lot of folks have been doing for a long time, and that's great. The issue there generally is the microfilm organized properly? Is it indexed properly so that we know what we have? Do we know where it is? And it has been stored properly so that it is still readable and usable. And recovering from microfilm probably means digitizing all of the microfilm to get it in a digital format so that we can move forward and open up our offices again. The chances are the office is not going to be opened up under a microfilm retrieval mode. And then the other thing that are lost, obviously, in many of the public records offices are the indexes. So those are valuable documents. Those are the grantor, grantee, or defendant, plaintiff indexes that point someone to the actual document. So many times those documents are not microfilmed, and when that data is lost, even if you can recover the documents, then there would be a task of trying to re-index those documents, which would be tremendously costly. Bottom line, recovering non-digital data is going to be difficult and expensive, if possible at all. So what is the solution? So what am I getting at? Well, you might have guessed that I am encouraging you to move to the concept of a digital record room. So what is a digital record room? Well, it's that place where all of your records have now been digitized, not only digitized, but retrievable in a logical manner under some kind of retrieval system, whether it's with your perhaps your current vendor you might be using, where their land record or court record management product can manage the retrieval of these images, or some other retrieval system, so that you really just don't have a lot of digital media thrown into a box, but it's actually off-site and retrievable so that you've got ready access to them. So I'd encourage you to start with a plan, and generally that starts with conducting a physical survey of the books, as I mentioned earlier, and that could be going through your vaults with a clipboard, writing down the documents that you have in the format that they're in, whether in their book form, are they in paper, are they in file folders, do you have microfilm? All of those things need to be documented. And many times it's also just finding out where is your microfilm if you have it. I've run into many situations where the new public official comes in and they really don't know where or if there is microfilm, and that becomes a challenge. There may have been a period of time when the county maintained their own storage, or it might have been in one vendor vault and then moved to another. It may be split into more than one, so those will be difficult things perhaps to try to round up, but really need to find out where some of this microfilm, if there is any, where it exists. And if it does exist, is it organized properly? We've received microfilm boxes of microfilm from customers that have a barcode label on it that no doubt was put on by another vendor, but the customer has no reference to what that barcode means. So really it means virtually nothing to anybody today, and that becomes a difficult situation. So once you've got that inventory, then I suggest that you work on a plan to digitize these records. So that would be prioritizing what is the most high-value documents that you have. Chances are digitizing your records may not all be available in a current budget. It might have to be spread out over several budget years, and that needs to be organized so that over time you can change that pie chart that we saw earlier, so that more of the documents you have are digital over time. So what's that going to yield? I mean, not only you're going to know that those records are safe and can be recreated should you have a disaster, but you also have business continuity. So if you've combined a retrieval or an access strategy, then perhaps these documents can be accessible 24/7 by you or the public, regardless of what disaster might occur at the courthouse. And really serving the constituents is really what we're after, and so that business can continue and you're ready to open up your doors to the public as soon as possible. So this is where we're trying to get to. We're trying to get to that point where all our documents have been digitized. Well, Cott Systems provides many of these services, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them. Many vendors can work with you on this, but there are different types of media. We talked about a few: aperture cards, roll film, microfilm jackets, microfiche, bound books. Those that can't be removed and scanned may require specialty equipment. And then the third bullet is what Cott calls online index books. So this is now a piece of software that can leverage the retrieval of all the documents that you've scanned. Let me give you an example. So if you decided you wanted to scan all of your deed books from the very first book to, maybe all those books, maybe 200 or 300 books that have never been scanned before, you've scanned them. So now the question is, well, how will I access those books? How will I know what book and page to call up? if I don't have an index. If I only have a grantor or grantee name, I need access to the old index books to find reference to the book and page so that I can call it up. And that's what this product is designed to do. It's been very successful with our company. A lot of index books out there that were actually Cott indexes, because that's how we originally got our business, our start in 1888 was designing these index books. So we're very familiar with them. But we do run across prospects, customers that say, hey, I had somebody come in and digitize many of my records, and they handed it to me on CDs or on some kind of media, but I really don't have a solution for retrieving them. And that's where this product, online index books, could possibly be of service to you. So we talked about protecting the physical books and the natural disasters, but there's another category, and these are man-made type of situations, disasters. So, you know, they could be broken pipes. We've seen that in some of our customers, sprinkler systems, gas leaks. It could be human error. Okay, so human error meaning, okay, now we are in a digital world. We have a computer. Everything's being scanned. Everything's being indexed. All of our information is on the computer. We have no books anymore, perhaps, because many counties have now gone away from making physical documents and putting them in books. So we rely very, very heavily, obviously, on the computer and the digital records. But what if the backup is not done right? What if someone has just made an error, a human error, that it causes data to be lost? Those are real scary thoughts as well. Or, as we've seen in the news and in other of our business relationships, data viruses or hackers, people wanting to do bad things to your electronic or your digital data. These are all things that we need to be concerned about. You know, even though we are in a digital environment. So how do we protect the digital records? Well, obviously, you know, whether you're using a vendor supplied solution or you're using your in-house IT staff at your counties and your departments, backups are critical. So daily and weekly backups, and then also a verification that backups are being performed properly. You know, if you can get, if you're working with IT and you can get an email every day saying, letting you know that you've got a successful backup or backup's been performed successfully, I would encourage you to try to ask for that. I know a customer that was able to do that, and he knew, at least from the email, that a backup was successfully performed every night. Off-site media storage. So even though we're doing our proper backups, the next step of protection is hopefully having an off-site media storage of those records. It does no good, for example, in that courthouse in Georgia that burned down, if all of the backup media is in the same building. So this could be as simple as rotating your backups and moving them to an off-site facility, perhaps a safety deposit box or some other secure site, to doing a replication, so that you're actually replicating the backup that's performed locally in your facility and actually having it performed remotely in some other location. These are all practical and prudent things to do to protect your digital records. And also write down microfilm. I believe that there is a place for microfilm, and I recently ran across this statement as I was reading about microfilm, and I'll read it to you. It says, unfortunately, we tend to minimize the risk that archived digital images can and do become corrupted, unstable, or even lost, risking the validity of recorded history. How many backups in how many locations are necessary to preserve these records? How much will it cost to continually upgrade hardware and software over the next 10 years? So this is really someone that's really advocating that microfilm may still need to be performed as an alternative recovery method. And I wouldn't totally disagree with that at all. So really, how many map backups really would give you that protection that your digital data is safe? Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 4? We're going to talk about that in a second. Backups would really make you feel comfortable knowing that your digital data is safe. At Cott Systems, we provide a cloud-based records management solution. What does that mean? That means that we are hosting here at our Tier 4 data center in Columbus, Ohio, our land records application, and all of the images and all of the data is here in our Tier 4 data center. We're doing we have 4 occurrences of the backup nightly in 2 physical locations. So, and we have other things that I'm going to tell you about in a moment, but you have a high degree of reliability of knowing that your data is safe and secure in our data center. And because we have many customers using the data center, we are able to provide an infrastructure that you would really not be able to do at an individual county level. So what are the benefits of the hosted system? Well, first of all, we are constantly updating the software, so there are no need for our customers to do that. We do that automatically. The information, the data is secure. There's a high level of disaster recovery. Not only in the backups that we're performing, but also other threats to the data. So virus protection. We have the latest virus protection system in our infrastructure. We have intrusion detection. So if someone's trying to get into the system, we are aware of it. We have various firewalls. We have the technical infrastructure to make it very, very safe. And again, this is not meant to be a technical discussion, but the cloud really is an answer to many of the questions that have been coming up more and more about protecting digital records. So we're doing the backups. We are reducing overall costs because we can achieve the kinds of protection that you couldn't do normally at the county or the government level. And we're providing 24-hour access anytime, anywhere. So for those counties that want to provide access to the public 24/7, that's available. Of course, some counties don't provide access, and that's certainly up to them. So we're finally really at the end of this discussion, and really the key points are: it's time to start thinking about what happens should disaster occur, and that's all about being prepared. We talked about a couple of things: developing a plan, creating an inventory of what you have, working with either your IT or other qualified vendors to help you along in, digitizing many of the different types of media that you have, and also deciding what kind of access, what kind of, once documents are digital, what is going to be the retrieval media? Is it the current software that you have? Is your vendor able to take control of all those? Can it be imported into the current system? Or is perhaps some other third-party product necessary to provide access to non-indexed information? So with that, you are really fulfilling your obligation as the protector of the documents and the custodian of the documents. So thank you for your attendance today, and thank you for the effort that you provide all of us in the public, because you're protecting our records, and we appreciate that. Thank you very much for your time.